Today, I am installing a Chase light bar. I picked this up from Xprite, Xprite, I believe. And it has all of the harness to run into your brake lights, your backup lights, run to the cab. And it looks pretty cool, I think. It doesn't look like your traditional Chase light where they're like kind of blocks. Every one is individual. So you have 4 red, 3 amber, 4 white, 3 amber, 4 red. I got this as a Chase light, but also once my rooftop tent goes on here, it's gonna block my 3rd brake light. I'm gonna wire everything in eventually where when I hit my turn signal, these red will flash. When this side flashes, when I brake, they'll brighten up a little bit more. Then you've got your Chase light built in, and then you've got an additional auxiliary reverse light here, which is gonna be pretty nice. It'll be mounted high, which will be pretty cool. I started mocking it up already, and at first I was gonna mount it here at the bottom, and then I realized as I'm sliding stuff into the bed, that might kind of get in the way a little bit. So I asked some of my buddies, and they said, why don't you put it right there? And I thought that'd be great because it's the same exact profile as this 80/20, and it'll tuck right in. So I've got my Unistrut, not Unistrut, my 80/20 hardware in there. And we're gonna go ahead and get this guy bolted in. All I've done so far is put the brackets on here that it's gonna mount with. I did rattle can them a little bit to make them a little bit tougher. I still got all the hardware loose. I'm still just mocking up location. I think this is gonna work out pretty well. If you've never had a Chase light, I've never had a Chase light bar like this, but on this truck, when I had the roof rack on it, I had some lights up there, some amber nightlight pods pointed back, and I have an aux beam panel inside that actually has a strobe functionality built into it. So without, like this bar has a switch that will, like, you can cycle through strobe patterns. It's made to strobe. But if you just had lights off the back of your vehicle and you wanted to be able to strobe them, you could make any light that's wired into an aux beam switch panel able to strobe. I had a camper on this before, and all the lights on the whole thing were wired into the aux beam panel, so I could strobe any of them at any time. So it works pretty well. So I got this in place, and I think it's gonna look pretty good right in there. It's the exact same thickness as the 80/20. So I'm gonna tighten up, now that I've got these bolted into the side, I'm gonna center it right there, take my old handy wrench, and get this thing tightened down. I will leave a link in the description to this Chase light bar. I did get it on sale. Xprite is not paying me for this video. They did not give me a discount on it or anything like that. I bought it with my own money because I thought it was one of the better looking ones out there. There are cheaper options. And this is the 30-inch bar because I measured, and with this rack on here, this gap from here to here is exactly like 30.5 inches. So this bar fits perfectly. Like, there is maybe 1/8 of an inch on each side. Maybe if you had a full-size truck, a 36-inch bar would fill that real well. So now we got the brackets tightened down. We're gonna tuck the wiring back in there. Sink that down. Oh yeah, that's nice. I think my hardware is actually, yeah, my hardware is bottoming out in the Unistrut or the 80/20. So I'm gonna have to actually take that apart and probably toss a washer between the 80/20 and the Xprite bracket. I'm not gonna make you guys watch that. Let me go ahead and just do that real quick. Yeah, so you can see in there, I was actually bottoming the bolts out and this was not totally tight. So I'm gonna add a little, oh, you're out of focus, a little spacer right in between there. I've got these guys. And I think if I put that in there, some good surface area, and it should be pretty snug. I'd love to have something rectangular to go back there. Let me think on it for a second. So then I got thinking, why don't I just do this right? Why add a spacer? I'm just gonna shorten these bolts a little bit. So a little tip, if you're gonna cut a bolt, put a nut on there. I'm gonna cut it about right here. And what I'll be able to do then is thread this off to kind of clean the threads. You know, if you've ever cut a bolt before, sometimes it's not always straight. You don't really have that starter thread like they typically have. But by having a nut on there, this will essentially create a starter thread and make it a little easier to thread on. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut these guys. Then we'll have done it right the first time. That's my goal for this year. Don't halfway do anything. So we're just gonna cut these real quick. I got all 4 of them here. I'm gonna throw them in a set of vice grips. Thread that down. Just cut a few threads off. There's one. And then it's hot now, but I'll be able to thread this up and kind of clean that thread off as it goes up right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the rest of these cut, and I'll get back to installing this. I'll bring y'all back in just a minute. Okay, so I got those cut off, and then what you can do, like right there, it's a little bit crunchy because I'm right where I cut it. I'm gonna work it back and forth. I'm holding the bolt and spinning the nut, and you can basically kind of straighten out the threads on it. I'm gonna grab this guy. We're just gonna twist it off, go back and forth a little bit, and then I basically have some nice threads again. And those will thread in a lot easier than trying to just cut it and then dealing with threading it into the bracket over there. So I'm going to clean up the rest of these. All right, I saved y'all from having to watch me put this back up there, but got the bolts all cleaned up, got the bar up there. I'm gonna tighten these guys down. Yeah, we're not bottoming out anymore, so that's exactly what we wanted. I never mentioned it, but this is a KBD Voodoo rack. It's technically from a 3rd Gen Tacoma, but the beds are close enough between the Tacoma and the Frontier that I was able to stretch it out as far as it would go. And we're gonna get it bolted in today. It's just sitting up in the bed right now. Take this, I'll push it all the way back. It's sunny. And I'll snug her down. Sweet. Oh yeah, that looks nice, don't it? Sorry for the brightness, but you can see you got the red, you got the amber, you got the white, you got the amber, and you got the red. What I'll do is there's a big old wiring harness. I've got some pass-throughs already behind the deck where it drops down and can go under. I will probably not get this wired up today because I want to get my tent up here and make sure that's all going to work. I think that's going to look really good there. I'd say this is pretty well built. Obviously haven't had it in rain and stuff. The only thing I don't love is the switch. It's a little, you can listen, you can hear it. It's a little cheaper feeling than I'd like it to be, but in reality, I think it'll be fine. And I will probably try to find a way to take the functionality that this switch has and have it on my aux beam, my switch panel up in the roof, on the ceiling of the truck. That's off, that's on. And you can change strobe patterns like this. So I believe I can replicate some of that functionality doing some fancy wiring with the aux beam, and it'll be good. So that's what it looks like. Should be pretty sick. I'm gonna get the tent slapped up there, gonna get the rack bolted in. We'll call it good. All right, it's a new day. Installed this in this place last weekend, and then I just finished wiring it up, so I wanted to go through how I did that. This light bar comes with a switch that has a 3-position switch. So it's off, on, and on is power to it, and it just lights the brake lights on the side, or the red lights on the side. and then it has a momentary, you hold the switch down for 3 seconds, and then the strobes come on, and then you click that down again, and the strobes cycle through the pattern. Hang on 1 second and I'll go grab it. Okay, so this is the switch, and that was off. That was on, where the red lights would come on. You would hold this down for 3 seconds and the chase lights would come on, and then you would click it down to cycle through the modes. But I don't have any blanks in my truck, so I didn't want to have to run this switch. So with the help of my buddy Aaron, he helped me figure out how I needed to wire it so it could work with my aux beam switch panel, which I already have. So I'm gonna go ahead and get everything lit up, and then I'll show you how it works. It's in start. I'm gonna push number 2 on my panel, which turns it on. So you can see you've got these lights. I can wire these into my brake lights and my turn signals, so they all do their thing on each side. I'm just not gonna do that right now. So that's on. So I hold the number 3, which I have set to momentary because I have the aux beam panel, which I can do strobe, I can do momentary, or I can do always on. And momentary will turn this on after I hold it for 3 seconds. Now, if I go over here and I click that number 3 button, just to momentary it changes the pattern. So now they're always on. And every time I momentary that, it will change how it's flashing, as you can see. Brake lights.
Whoa. All right.
Those are
that is bright.
turning on the wall.
Oh my goodness.
We can change the strobe.
Yeah, there's bright right there.
Yeah, those look good. Those are very bright, Jake.
Yes.
Nice. That worked out well. So then what I can do is, if I don't need any of it on, I can just press my number 2 button, which turns off the whole thing. Shout out to my buddy Aaron, who helped me figure this out. So what we had to do is we basically had to run a relay, jumper things, because the aux beam panel has an always on ground, and all it does is supply power. But this light bar uses ground as the change. So you have to cut ground to change the strobe pattern. And so we had to just wire it into a relay so that when you push the button, it initiates ground within the relay. I'm really happy with how it's set up. It's nice and low profile here. I think it's gonna be super nice going down the road. Eventually I'll wire all this into the tail lights where I've got my turn signal and stuff, and brake lights, since my 3rd brake light's blocked. But for right now, I'm very happy with it. It seems like a solid unit. There was a ton of rain last week, and I didn't have any issues with moisture getting into it through all the storms and driving and everything. Only time will tell on that, because you never know sometimes. But so far, this Xprite, X-P-R-I-T-E Chase bar has been really good. And so far, I recommend it. We'll get to test it off-road coming up next weekend. So if you have any questions, comments, you want some more detail, I'm more than happy to answer it. Thanks for watching.